Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Tonight is the Loft featuring my very good guest, Damian Cipollina.
How we doing?
He is not only one of my best friends, but he is also my brother. And Damian is many things, but one of the two things that he is he is a certified personal trainer, and he is also a writer. So I thought I'd have him on the show, The Loft, to talk about some of these things tonight. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's dive right in. I mean, what would you say is the first step to losing weight?
Well, I get asked that question a lot, and I guess the best thing I have to say is wanting to stop. Stop a behavior, wanting to make a change. Of course, we all know it usually comes from food, but a lot of times it doesn't come from food. For me, it was food. Sometimes people have hormone problems, and there could be a lot of other reasons why they're not losing weight. So I don't want to ever do a general, what's the best way of this, the best way of that. It really comes from inside, wanting to make a change. And I think I should go a little bit deeper because I think that everyone feels that way. They want to make a change, and you just can't. So what I did was I took one thing and I just changed one small thing. It just starts with one small thing. And that for me was soda. Just went from drinking soda to not. Simple change. One small move, and then things start moving from there usually.
Okay. I mean, what would be your advice for people out there to get them motivated?
Well, that's probably even a bigger issue than where you're starting from is motivation. Especially now during a pandemic, it's been harder than ever to stay in shape. But I have to say motivation has to come from probably aesthetics, by looking at yourself, getting on the scale frequently. I know it sounds a little strange, but people that weigh themselves at least once a week tend to be thinner. That's not because the scale's doing anything. It's just more of a conscious awareness of how you're looking. And face it, most people are exercising not just to feel better, but to look better. So, for me it was just wanting to fit into certain clothes, and also a lot of body imagery. Imagine what you're going to look like, getting psyched about it like you already did it. That for me was how am I going to look, planning a new haircut that you can get when you lose the weight, right? Or, a new type of outfit you can wear, a new style, or grow a beard or shave your beard. Something like to that effect, and just kind of get excited about it and envision what you're going to look like, because there's the goal, and then you're going to get hungry.
So what kind of exercises would you suggest for a beginner out there?
For a beginner, I always tell people walking, and it seems like a cop-out, but it's really not. I'm going to go into other things. My second suggestion is definitely yoga, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the reason why I say walking is you need to start moving. In general, people who want to lose weight are probably overweight, right? And that's probably a way to exercise your entire body, really from head to toe. Anyone that tells you otherwise is lying to you. So it's a full body exercise, and almost anyone can walk. If you can't walk, that's a whole other situation. You should probably consult your doctor. Start with walking.
So, during this pandemic, what would be the best way you think people would be able to work out?
Well, that's getting to probably the next way of starting out. From walking, I recommend probably 20 minutes a day. If you're doing it inside, go a little longer, because a treadmill or anything like that is always going to make it a little easier. They even have statistics about that. Like I say, 20% easier to use a treadmill than it is to walk on the ground outside.
Okay.
But in the pandemic, sometimes people, they don't want to walk around in public, whatever it may be. I recommend doing yoga videos inside the house or Pilates videos. Just get yourself moving. Always change it up. Have a mixed bag. Get excited. Find someone you like to watch on YouTube, whatever it may be, that you start following that make a lot of sense. And you say, what, I'm going to follow this guy, and he works out 3 days a week. I'm going to work out with him. Start putting things on a calendar. Start tracking your progress.
Okay. This question I've been wanting to ask you for a while. How important do you feel organic foods versus the supermarket foods versus the GMOs? How important is the organic foods to be eating in a diet and in an exercise regimen?
Well, that strikes a chord with me. I'm a big guy with organics. I can go on for hours and hours about just that one topic, that you should be eating organic. I'm a certified personal trainer, exercise fitness specialist. So I can prescribe exercise, and they really limit us what we could say about foods as far as advice goes. So this is definitely not advice. This is going to be for entertainment purposes only, okay?
All right.
All right, so if you're eating stuff that has genetic modified organisms, it's been changed, it's been altered. And then you put that in your body. Your body doesn't know how to respond to that. So right there you're causing a crisis. You're causing inflammation. You're causing confusion. Not to mention the chemicals and the pesticides that are on there as well. and they modify that cell that is no longer normal at all, so the nutrition base falls down. So you can take an orange, an average orange has about 500 milligrams of vitamin C, go ahead, fact check me. And you take a GMO orange, you get about 30 milligrams. You can fact check that too, depending on where you buy it. So now you have someone that has to eat like 15 oranges to get the same vitamin C. It's not even the real vitamin C, it's a synthetic vitamin C. So it's the type of vitamins that you're getting from these foods. They're not whole foods anymore, really. They've been changed. So this actually was an experiment. I can't quote really where it was from, but you can look it up. They changed a woman's diet for 30 days. Everything the same. They gave her, chicken nuggets. Instead, they did organic chicken, grass-fed beef, stuff like that. They changed everything. She lost like 12 pounds in a month. Didn't change anything. Just went from traditional, conventional foods back to organic the way it should be.
Okay, so you definitely highly recommend organic foods.
Yes, 100%.
And I'm a believer in that too. So the other part of the interview I wanted to talk to you about was that you're also a writer.
Okay, yes.
And you recently wrote a play with me.
Yes, we did.
We did Stand Up for Love, which was my concept and my ideas, but you really brought it to life on paper.
Thank you.
So as a writer of also poetry and a play, what advice would you give someone who's looking to start a career as a writer, a playwright, poetry, books? What would be your advice for them?
If you're looking into going to writing, it doesn't always happen organically. I've been writing since I'm 7 years old. I was sitting in class and just started writing thoughts and feelings. You write about what you know.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes what you know might be a lot more interesting about what's actually happening to you. So I wrote about people I knew, and when I started working, I wrote about those people. So I was worked with, in not-for-profits. I worked in group homes for 19 years. So I had a lot of information, and a lot of my poems were written about situations and people, but I never would disclose who they were. It's writing. It's almost fantasy. You take a little bit of this, a little bit of that from what you see in real life. But the best way to really start is put the pen to paper. Just start writing what you know right away, and try to get it out there some way, because that gives you the encouragement. You got to get out there some way. Whether someone reads it, you put it online. I recommend probably doing a copyright, because if you're any good, someone might want it. So you want to make sure that it's publicly known that it's yours too. There's a lot of way to do a lot of independent blogging, and a lot of way to do. People are always doing that. They help people do editing as well. That's free. You could just sign right up and you start working right away. It's very tedious work though, but probably good training. But the one thing, sorry to cut you off, the one thing I really recommend is, if you're younger and you're looking into it, it's not happening organically for you. It's just not just starting to happen when you just can't stop writing. Is take a lot of classes. I took classes called Literature and the Holocaust, Shakespeare's comedies. Go deep into the English language, learn about it, because if you know how to write, you won't have to think about it being grammatically correct or having the lines turn red or blue or whatever on the screen all the time. You're just writing from the heart. You kind of know the mechanics already. You know what I mean?
So where do you draw your inspiration from when you sit down and write a poem or write a play? Where do you find your inspiration?
When you go through life in your day, you're taking little screenshots, right, about things and little memories. So I kind of sometimes say to myself, I gotta write about this sometime, and I make a little note to myself. I probably should write it down. Sometimes I do, and I'll go back to it and I'll think, wow, that situation, that was pretty wild or whatever was happening, and I'll try to just see from that person's perspective, or from a different perspective, maybe someone walking by's perspective. Think outside the box. It's writing. There's no right or wrong. Some might like it, they might not. That's everything. You know what I'm saying? So again, what's around you, and make sure you really love what you're writing about. Make sure you really stand behind it.
All right, great. Well, listen. Tell me a little bit about this play you brought. Tell me a little bit of background of the play.
For the play, and I also
that you
poems.
also won an award for this play, this poetry.
We'll get to the award in a second, but let's start with the play, because I think that's really, really cool. We just finished Stand for Love. It was a play we both wrote, like my brother said, and it's gonna be great because there's no other play like it. We're very excited. 9 months of labor of love, at least maybe a year. Probably come up in a year actually.
Yeah.
Blood, sweat, and tears, and it's gonna be fantastic. No other play do you get to see this much stand-up comedy, get entertained this much, and have an amazing love story at the same time. I really think people are gonna be blown away and shocked that we created this and gave birth to this thing.
Yeah.
The second question you asked me about the poem I brought. Yeah, I figured from a writer, I might as well tell you, read something I wrote, right? So you believe me. Well, it's kind of a funny story.
So why don't you hold this up real quick?
Okay, it's kind of a funny story. Back in 2005, this is the award I won from Poetry.com. It's Editor's Choice Award. I got it in 2006. Well, back in 2005, I wrote a poem called Today. I hand wrote the poem, and I mailed it to Poetry.com. I thought it was kind of funny. I didn't have a computer at the time. And I got a letter back like 3 months later. I couldn't believe when I opened it what it said. Not only did I win Editor's Choice Award, they recommended me for the Sound of Poetry, and I was inducted into the International Library of Poetry. As a writer, I was ecstatic. I'm still glowing about it. I mean, this was 15 years ago, you know. I just, to this day, I just feel so honored that I was thought of and that they recognized my poem. And I felt it did have impact. And again, this poem was drawn from inspiration from working in group homes. It's not any particular person at all. It's just, but it is about depression. This poem.
Okay, so why don't you do us the honors and read the poem.
Okay.
Read the poem.
So, today, this poem is presented by me. It's out there without any sponsors. There's no fancy actor or skinny models. I have no pitch or salesman to convince you. Just take it for free. Don't judge it or me. I have no prizes or sports car for you to win. I don't consider this a reality show or miniseries. I won't glamorize my life or marry a millionaire. I don't want to shop while I'm at home. Today would be great if I could just get up and turn off my TV.
Wow, that was great.
Thank you.
Really great.
Thank you. Thank you.
So recently I watched an interview in 1992 with Arthur Miller, the playwright Arthur Miller. And he said, in order to be a playwright, really what a playwright is just an actor that knows all the characters. Would you agree with that? I mean, you were an actor, you did go to acting school, you've been in off-Broadway plays, as well as my productions and things like that. Would you say that you're an actor that knows that what everybody should be saying?
I would say definitely not. I would say definitely not. I think a lot of times when it came to my acting experience personally as an amateur actor, and I've had my feet wet a few occasions now, for me it's really just, first of all, learning the lines and then making a connection to the play. But as far as making a connection to the actors, on some level, yes, I guess now that I think about it. Now, I never was really thought about that before, you know? But for me, it was more just trying to stick with what the play wanted from me and try to entertain the audience. And that's exhausting in itself, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, before we wrap everything up, I just want to ask you, what is your next project? What's the next thing you're going to be working on?
It's funny you asked me that today at all days. I was thinking about it. Well, I'm actually just started working on it's going to be a true story series, actually. So, factual information about blowing up the stigma of mental illness. And it's going to be about a book based on schizophrenia, going deep with paranoid delusions, audiovisual issues, and the challenges of someone that walks around schizophrenia and feels that they're all alone, and really stomp at the stigma once and for all, and let people know that this is real, and more than half the population have some form of mental illness, so join their club.
Wow. All right, thank you, Damian.
Thank you for having me.
You can find Damian on Facebook. Please remember to hit like and hit subscribe. And you can also follow me on Instagram under James Cipollina. Thank you for tuning in to this week's The Loft, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.